Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this second live conference of this first day of our 21st edition. This morning, we mentioned Technopole, the technological hub of Bologna, and a meeting point for the world of the companies and the world of technology. And today we will touch upon another project which sees Emilia-Romagna as a protagonist and which involves an important role of big data. Big data are crucial both for innovation and enterprises. I'd like to introduce immediately the speakers for this session. So we have the counselor to school, university, research, and digital agenda of Emilia-Romagna, who is Paola Salomoni, and many other participants, actors of projects such as Horizon 2020 and many other companies participating in this project, such as Francesco Millo, M&A and Corporate Development Director of Bonfiglioli, uh, a company who is a main actor of this project. And then we have Albert Mundet from the Barca Innovation Hub, who will contribute from Barcelona. Can you hear us, Albert? Can you hear us, Albert? Then we have the president of the National Institute of Physics, who is Mr. Antonio Zoccoli, and who is carry on and the project together with many other actors. So I'd like to give the floor immediately to Paola Solomoni for her welcome speech. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for having invited me. Just a few words just to welcome you on behalf of Emilia-Romagna. Today's topic, the one of digital twins, has an increasingly important role, which is quite fundamental in terms of visibility. So, a number of projects were expected, and now finally concrete results are coming. On our side, on the side of the region, what I can say is that we have decided to focus on this topic and be an active partner for the Digital Tin project. There are projects who are with a more entrepreneurial focus, like the one you will mention later, but there are also other projects which are more based on political decisions, so which are more relevant for political decisions. I'm thinking of the twin project of Bologna, which is another project we are dealing with, or another, the twin of the Romagna region. So there are many of these twin projects, digital twin projects. So I believe it is quite interesting to speak, to discuss about these projects. So now I give the floor to the following speaker. Yes, sure, but you can stay with us until the very end of the session. I will be glad to remain, but because I have many other commitments with the region, I don't know whether I will be able to stay with you until the very end. Okay, we'll try to be strict on time. So I give the floor to Francesco Millo, who is the leader of the project, who will tell us how the project was born and what his objective.
Thank you very much, Ilaria. Thank you all for being present. I confirm what was just said. namely that the project, which is called IO Twins, is what I would define as a system project. It was established within a system operation in the region of Emilia-Romagna. It was originally sponsored by the regional authorities, and then it saw certain players of the region creating the consortium, extending it to outside the national borders and therefore winning the um, the tender. We have Antonio Zoccoli. He is also a friend, and he was one of the developers of the consortium. We met with him, with the region, and with other institutions, and Professor Milano from the University of Bologna, with Marcos and with Art Air, and we began to develop a consortium that was credible to bring to Europe to receive funding for such a complex project. And the consortium is, as I was saying, somewhat complex. We have 8 partners from different countries. Some are well-known names such as Siemens, Mess, Barcelona Football Club. Other less known, but in their industries they are important. International leaders, a Luxembourg company that is leader in alcoholic and super and uh, alcoholic drinks and produces their caps. And along with all these partners, we were able to make a convincing proposal. So let me now tell you about the project in its structure. In doing so, I must mention something which was extremely important for winning the tender. It was the contribution of 2 of the 3 supercomputer centers in Europe that contributed. So you understand that we have a consortium in a project where computational processing is very important. And inside our partnership, we have 2 entities of such importance. The project is divided into 3 stages. There is the building of a shared platform with the leadership of the research institutes, the FN and the University of Bologna, Sineca, Barcelona Supercomputer Center, and these work to provide a platform which is capable of um, making available application test beds, pilots, different for the different services. So in the near future, for big data, there's going to be AI, some IoT, cloud computing, and in cloud services, and then the digital twins, which have given the name to the project. IO Twins is a combination of IoT and twins. So we have a situation where the research institutes have received input from the various partners that are working on the pilot project to implement a platform capable of providing services, highly technological services to all these partners. So what happens in the following stage? 20 months have elapsed. We're halfway. Its duration is 36 months. Ilaria mentioned this earlier. The European Union is funding it for 16 million. And in the project, we have the platform providing services to 7 pilot projects. To test the effectiveness of the services are then divided into 2 major categories. Test beds in manufacturing and others in facility management, which means managing infrastructures, basically, and facilities. In the first case, which is what concerns me, as Bonfiglioli, we are present not only for coordination, but we are present also because we bring our industrial manufacturing competence. The test beds, pilot test beds for the manufacturing industry, there are applications where you test performances based on predictive maintenance through the monitoring of manufacturing behaviors and processes, optimizing the various applications where our platform interfaces. In the case of Bonfiglioli, along with Gateway, another partner, we're working in the wind energy area. We provide services for wind turbines, and through IoT techniques, we try to improve the output of renewable energy thanks to the fact that predictive maintenance reduces the downtime of the turbines of machinery. Waller Closure is a company, another company that uh, based in Luxembourg. It has 20 manufacturers worldwide. We optimize with predictive maintenance tools the manufacturing of their closures, and we conduct similar activities on the other pilot test beds involving the other partners, the Spanish partner that I was mentioning earlier. And then we have the the facility management test bed. Barcelona Football Club is
Infatti ti stavo
one of the
togliendo la
most
parola
famous.
invece, non so se mi si sente, perché appunto invece
I
sul lato di gestione infrastrutture e smart grid
Ilaria speaking.
direi
As for
che
smart
potremmo
green
parlare a
technologies, we would
Mundet.
like to
Tra l'altro
call
mi dispiace
Mr.
perché io ho
Albert
parlato in italiano, vorrei
Mundet.
parlare in
I
inglese in
spoke to him in
italiano, se
Italian yesterday. He
invece
speaks
qualcuno parlerà in
an
inglese.
excellent Italian,
Il
but he's
direttore
going
del
to be talking in
Barcelona
Italian.
Football Club è
He
stato
is
sperimentando
the
per principio della
um,
gestione intelligente
he
dei flussi, per cui
is
non so
the
se
manager at the
adesso con
Barca
l'avvento
Innovation
di delle
Hub,
comunicazioni
and
nel mondo
they
sportivo,
deal
io
with
lascerei a lui
these
raccontare
issues
dei
in the
progetti
sports
su
world.
cui sta
I'm going to
nella nostra
call
immagine del
Albert
calcio come
Mundet
sport per
to take the
eccellenza,
microphone
come cambierà
to
la vita quotidiana
tell us how the daily
dello
life
spettacolo che
of
Antonovasi ha sul palco
the
delle pubbliche
football show is going to change. And this, of course, is of great interest for our male viewers and audience. So, Mr. Mundet, you have the microphone.
Yeah, thank you, Laria, and a pleasure to be here. I just first before to start, just anecdote. I'm a physicist who laureated in Università of Bologna, so it's my first year in physics was in Bologna, and I finished my career, my undergrad there. So it's a pleasure to be here. Yeah, so Barca Innovation Hub is basically the tool that we have to develop research and development innovation projects at the club, right? And we are facing that the sport industry changing a lot. Of course, after COVID, we faced a lot of challenges, but the trend in the last years was already that how we can integrate a lot of sources of data from a digital channel that we have, the relationship with our fans, but also in our facilities that are, in our case, is not just the stadium, it's the campus that we have around the whole stadium with a second, with an arena where our indoor sports play. And that space, we want to learn more how we can have interventions there, right? And because of that, the project that we participated in, and we are super happy here with the whole consortium and developing. At the end of the day, it's developing this digital twin where we will be able to predict many different contingencies that may happen in that campus, right? From from a construction perspective, how we're going to be able to, at some point, we're going to be renewing our notes and our stadium in the next years. So the contingencies that we're going to have during this construction process, having this digital twin available will help a lot in terms of defining how these fans flows when they enter the stadium with specific doors closed, how these flows will evolve based on those changes. as well from commercial purposes, right? So how we're able to design and predict the potential impact that specific commercial pop-ups in that campus. How can we predict the impact of those pop-ups based on the intelligence that we are able to create on this digital twin? So this digital twin for me it's an amazing project that goes into the whole trend that the sport industry is doing, is how we learn more about our fans and how we design better experiences for the fans, in that case in the venue side. And as well, in terms of operations, the digital twin that we're developing here will help a lot in terms of making things more efficient, in terms of predictive maintenance, for example. Also from, I would say from a safety perspective, we are putting a lot of time and money because of the norm to develop tests for evacuations of the stadium, right? If we're able to somehow to simulate that in digital twin, that would help us a lot. So yeah.
So Francesco Millo was saying we have completed 20 months of the 36-month project. What are your goals and how will it be replicable? Because the added value will be to make these tests scalable and develop them further, right?
Mm-hmm. So here, and this is an important part of the project. So we are now working on our big stadium, Mr. Camp Nou, which is a 100,000 seat stadium, the biggest stadium in Europe. So that puts us a lot of challenges in terms of managing that, and we are right now building this digital twin for the Camp Nou, right? And we are piloting specific aspects of that of the applications of that digital twin. But the challenge and is how we can bring that into a more, I would say, small stadium, right? Here we have our second team playing in our Johan Cruyff Stadium. It's 15 kilometers from the Camp Nou, and we want to bring that platform to smaller stadiums, right? Because then we're going to be able to not just manage our own second stadium, but also probably from, I would say, from a more mid-term vision and the potential replicability of this solution in other contexts, in other sports institutions. We will have much more, reach if we are able to do that change. And that's something that we have planned in the next 16 months. We're going to be moving from. So once we finish with the Camp Nou digital twin, we will bring that and we will adapt that to a smaller scenario like Johan Cruyff Stadium.
Thank you very much. I'd like to understand, I assume you're all young people working at this project. How many people are working at this project? And if compared to the other projects that you are conducting as Barca Innovation Hub, is this the most disruptive, or do you have other similar projects just as disruptive as this one?
Well, one of the things that I like from this project is the fact that we've been coordinating many different departments of the club, and that brings a lot of challenges when you're developing innovation in big corporations. Sometimes aligning, incentives to different departments is not an easy task. But in that case, we were able to manage to work with the IT team, of course, but also we work with the construction team who's already working on the previous works. Then we work also with the commercial team and we call it the installations exploitations, right? So the guys who are thinking on how they can make money out of our stadium 24/7 and 365 years a year, right? So with these three main departments working together, and us as an innovation department coordinating the whole project, that's something that it's not an easy thing, and it's not common. And in terms of the technology, I would say that it's one of the projects that we are more excited and proud of, just because we're working also, as Francesco mentioned, with Barcelona Supercomputing Center, which by chance is 1 kilometer from the Camp Nou, so we're pretty close in distance, and we can work together with a lot of momentum, and we are seeing a lot of progress, right? Here, our role has been more of a then setting up the sources of data, understanding which ones are valuable and how to structure all that, working with the Barcelona Supercomputing Center in the computational side. So they work on building those models and bringing the computational power they have. And then we act also as a final user in terms of defining how that should be this, in terms of the final deliverables, how should be this tool that we're going to be using for these simulations, right? So and profiles are really different. We have profiles more on the tech side and data guys who structure all these data sets and build the proper channels and APIs to manage with the BCC. Then we have the guys who are running operations of the team of the stadium on a weekly basis as a potential final users and defining requirements and all that stuff. We also have guys who are more thinking on a business side, to our more business developers. So it's a pretty, I would say, a different type of profiles. We have innovation managers of our team. We have a guy, Emanuele Busquita, who is the guy who is really managing it, who's making things happen. And we are really excited about what's coming on in the next month.
Thank you very much. This is a project which aligns everyone in an organization on a new goal. It must have been difficult to coordinate with everyone. Was it difficult to coordinate yourselves with Bonfiglioli and the Italian team? Did you coordinate well with them?
That was our first European Commission funded project that we participated in our whole history, and I think I can say that we are the only European club that is participating in such a project like this, right? So for us, it's been a really an amazing experience. We already, because of the collaboration with Bonfiglioni has been really great. We learn a lot on how we as a club should manage these external stakeholders collaborations, right? And put out a lot of processes and management, internal management to manage all that. So that I think it's been really great, and for us was I would say, as I was saying, a learning experience to then start working on other projects. We already won another one. This one more on the medical side, on more on the regenerative medicine, and we're already working on that. So, but the relationship with Bonfiglioni has been really great, and we appreciate how they lead the whole project. For us, it's been really interesting.
I'd like to thank Albert Mundit. Next time you can speak Italian. I now understand that you studied in Italy, so you have the advantage of speaking very good Italian besides this project. I know that you have an engagement, so I condense all the questions for you in that slot. So all the very best, and you will come back to tell us the end of the story after the 36 months have elapsed. And next time we watch a Barca game, we will think of the fact there's a little minute contribution of something from Bologna. Let me now call Antonio Zoccoli, chairman of INFN. Why are these supercomputers so important? I mean, Barcelona FC just mentioned how important they are. Well, what is occurring in Europe and globally right now is that in all the different areas, ranging from research to industry, medicine, medical devices, in all these areas and sectors, the amount of data being produced was unimaginable until recently. So the challenge that each institution, each country has to face if they want to remain competitive in the coming years is to be able to collect all this data, store them in the best possible way, and then make them accessible to users. For a research institution such as mine or the universities, each conduct their own research in scientific fields. And then you need, of course, the CPU to process the data. This is the major challenge, and those who will be able to do this will be the winners, and those who won't will be the losers. And we're talking about research, but also industry. So all the countries are becoming equipped right now to meet these challenges. Our institution, the National Nuclear Physics Institute, obviously poses the great questions of mankind. How was the universe established? What is the key of matter? What are the laws regulating the universe? So one may ask oneself, what does this have to do with supercomputers and with the IO twin, which we promoted along with Michele Milano and the University of Bologna? Because why are we doing this? Because when we work in our field of interest, we are and have been accustomed to simulate reality. We conduct experiments at the CERN in Geneva. We discovered the Higgs boson, and we did this with the collision of two protons, which create a snapshot with millions and millions of pixels when the collision between the protons occurs, more complex pixels compared to that of an ordinary camera. So we have a digital twin. We call it the Monte Carlo simulation in physics. This is a very complicated program which enables me to reproduce on the computer what I am witnessing. I can compare the events on the computer, produced on the computer, and produced in reality. I can compare them, and if I show you what they are, you wouldn't be able to distinguish the real from the false. So we can simulate reality, and we need processing power to validate our results. So we've come to the situation where we say, all right, what we're doing is useful for research, but can we translate what we're doing for research into a benefit for society at large? And there's a glitch with the sound. The interpreter does not receive the speaker anymore. We apologize for this. Dovreste
verranno upgradati, come avrete detto, è stato discusso nelle sessioni precedenti, avranno i più potenti calcolatori al mondo all'inizio del prossimo anno. Uno di questi sarà a Bologna, uno dei top 5 al mondo. E avere questi computer che sono adesso disponibili per la ricerca per mettere a disposizione alle imprese. Questa è stata la nostra sfida.
This has been our challenge. Let's consider Italy. There are two problems in Italy. One is having companies, manufacturers, that this is the challenge for the coming years. So those who invest in this kind of skills will win the challenge in the years to come. So we have to demonstrate that it works. If we organize a project, a program such as this, companies have the spin-off advantages. And considering that Italy is made up of many small and medium-sized enterprises, we can't imagine that in small and medium-sized enterprises there are persons capable of having the skills we have. companies invest in their core business, and so they can't afford these very advanced calculations and processing modalities. So we can provide them for companies to help companies then take advantage of these resources and these capabilities for the future. So it has been something we're involved in, and it's really been interesting and fun. Let me ask you a question. I'm going back to what we said earlier with regard to art to the small and medium-sized enterprises are not equipped, as you were saying, but I wonder, do they have the skills and the competence to understand that they need this kind of upgrade? I'm talking about the ability to understand and then avail themselves of external resources. Well, that's a challenge. That's the challenge we're embarked on. Of course, in Italy, we do have the competences and the skills. When the technopole and the supermachine will be installed, there will be an ecosystem that will develop around it, and the companies will naturally be led to address this ecosystem for their businesses. Because when you see that your neighbor is taking the advantage, you want it too. We worked with the European Commission on this. When the supercomputer program was funded, the European Commission made an investment for 120 million euros for the computers in Bologna, and Italy contributed for another 120 million. When this started, I was part of the work team that launched this European project, and we said to the European Commission, it makes no sense to make investments in the machines if you then don't convince private industry to participate. So Twin is working at this. The aim is to choose companies. Francesco mentioned the consortium earlier, Siemens, Palace, and Barcelona. They may have competencies in their organizations, but then there are also several other smaller players. Everyone can draw advantages from this. So this program intended to develop awareness in the manufacturing world of the advantages of this approach. What we're doing now in parallel with the universities and other research institutions is to develop awareness through Confindustria as well, the Italian Confederation of Industry, to examine the pros and cons and see the advantages. Often you say, yes, it's fine on paper, but the most simple thing is to create a project with them and show them it works. How many people, how many researchers are there in the Nuclear Physics Institute that deal with the digital twin? There are 2,000 employees in our institution, and we fund research for 4,000 professors and researchers and PhDs. I'm not an employee of the Nuclear Physics Institute, but I am a university professor. Most of our researchers use this kind of technology. Those who examine data are experts in digital twin and artificial intelligence, the two pillars of this approach. Now, I can't tell you, but we're talking about 1,000 researchers capable of using very well these tools, scientific tools, IT tools. And so this is the challenge. It's making available the skills, the competencies, and also create and work with the different ministries to help Italy acquire the infrastructures that are at the technological edge. Companies, organizations have to have access to processing power. We speak of cloud computing, and this cloud computing is more complicated. You need security requirements, and also very important is for medical data. Medical data has to be protected, and there have to be guarantees, security criteria that have to be met. And for this reason, and for medical data, this is a challenge for the future, providing an infrastructure, therefore, that centralizes data so that they can be easily accessible. You might recall that during the pandemic crisis, the regions were communicating to the central government data electronically. Some regions were sending faxes, so there is something to be done at the level of the public administration. And let me conclude by saying that research comes first. It's research that paves the way, shows what is possible, and then the challenge is that this road that has been paved by research is then made available to society. All right, I might come back to you later. So let me ask Millo, who is Bonfiglioli is, I think, number 2 globally in reducers. What is changing in companies with the digital twin? And from your point of view, how difficult or easy is it to involve the companies in the value chain? I mean, you work with several other companies. Your organization works with several other companies. That's true. In the Italian context, we are not a medium-sized company. We have 1 billion in revenues. So maybe it's not a big company globally speaking, but for the Italian level, it is. I mean, so even for a company such as ours, we don't have the competencies to do what is needed in terms of computer processing.
We realized that there will create a structural problem of digital transformation. Also, because today, if you don't have a digital transformation product, you are no one. So, we started a digital journey. So, a journey involving all people in the first line to visit technologies or companies with specific technologies. So we ranged from small startups developing solutions for retina or other great companies and realities such as the CIS in Cagliari. And so we did that, visiting something like 25 companies scattered throughout the nation. So this means that this was possible because everyone contributed. So the way in which I do things is mirrors my ideology, where the perspective of the technical officer or the CEO, they are two completely different perspectives, but both of them are fundamental because the CFO is very much involved in the processes. It's let's say bread and butter. But this, experience was useful to have a shared perspective and to be aware that we cannot be independent in developing new technologies. So at the end of 2018, we have completed our digital transformation plan, and we made it clear that it was needed to carry out initiatives of opening innovation. So situations in which we developed solutions together with partners, something which was thought to be unthinkable some time ago, because in the past, there were their own company developed their own innovation, but today things have completely changed. Consider that just Bonfiglioli can reach anything in terms of innovation required by the market. And so we started to work in this way. So we created a consortium, and so we started working together to innovate together with the others. And this was an important experience, especially for the company. Of course, there is a little bit of skepticism at the very beginning, also when working with different realities, especially when these are competitors. But we believe that this is very important, and this has enabled us to take part in other projects. So, being part of different realities, I am part of Bonfiglioli. We had part to become a member of ATM manufacturing within another consortium which develops different projects. And this was the experience of the competence center, and we have developed other projects within the Horizon 2020 agenda and in other institutions and with other institutions. So this is just to demonstrate that we are able to cooperate with anyone, also with competitor, and this was possible because our size enabled to do that. So, and all this, despite the fact that smaller companies, smaller firms are those who benefit more. Why? Because of their size, it would be difficult for them, it would be challenging for them to develop specific kind of innovations which have quite rapid development rate. And this is natural, of course, but this is just to show that we need really to leverage on that. But at the end of these 36 months, concretely, I'd like to know what kind of a test bed will you have, and which kind of operational changes will enable the day-by-day management. So specifically, hopefully, but we are quite on track right now, we will have a motor reducer with a sensor which will be applied on wind turbines, which will enable to have to receive forecast and prediction, therefore reducing downtime in case of any breakdown. And if I can say something, it is not even to give for granted the fact that the customer is willing to buy this additional function. I mean, everyone is very happy with this new solution, the fact that we are working on these new features with sensors, but very few of them are willing to pay more. So this can have different reasons, different origins, and specifically for the wind energy, which is quite a successful example. Wind industry has a lot of pressure on prices. Every year, the cost needs to reduce in order to achieve the so-called green parity. So very high cost pressure. This is the first element. Second element is that purchase purchases are made by the purchasing office, who is not responsible for the whole cost of the machine management. So he's not normally, they are not willing to spend a higher budget on a single element. Um, and as I said, we work with very big companies such as Vesta, and so in such big companies, this could be a difficulty. So, asking Professor President Zoccoli, I would like to know which are the changes that can lead a digital twin on a daily practice, let's say, overall? Because you earlier quoted the medicine sector, the medicine industry, but I believe there are many daily sectors where the quality can be improved. Indeed, what you said is absolutely right, and we can transfer the concept of digital twin in any field, in any industry. We can take examples from daily life if you wish, but I can do a digital twin of Earth. Why? Because I want to keep an eye on climate. So I create a digital twin of the Earth to simulate atmospheric circulation, climate changes, and all these very very challenging but very important topics. This is a long-term objective because right now we know many things about climate changes, but knowledge is missing, or deep knowledge is missing, enabling to have a digital twin forecasting precisely what will happen. What we have are estimates, but this is the objective of scientists, so to have reliable forecasts and estimates. And this objective will be shared by the European Commission. And so again, having as a partner the the meteorological center that, as we said earlier, moved to the Technopole of Bologna is really helping us to follow this path, because the supercomputer that will be shortly operating in Bologna will enable to make simulations and see and have precise forecasts of weather patterns for the next few days or weeks. All these forecasts can be done on a wider scale to evaluate the weather at global level, or even for the whole Earth, therefore having forecasts for the whole Earth conditions. So this is the objective established by the European Commission, and this objective can be downscaled if you want. But for example, I could create a digital twin for a city, so simulating traffic, pollution in the city, thus providing information to the town councillors on how to optimize traffic, how to reduce pollution, and so on and so forth. Same thing can be done also can be done for agriculture. Therefore, we use climate data to optimize agricultural yield, or use information from satellites to understand which is the best species to cultivate, to grow. So there are many concrete applications indeed, and they can all have an impact, an important impact. And as I said earlier, this is why it's important to read these data correctly. But because I am a scientist, I'd like to conclude with a hope. What about a digital twin for the universe? I mean, a dream and a big challenge, knowing all the secrets of universe. Of course, I will not live enough to see this come true, but we already know many things about the universe, and the more we know, the more we realize that we know very little. So big challenge, but we are humans, and I believe we'll never see it in a short future. Much remains to be done indeed. So, I was thinking of an avatar. Maybe this would be the right thing to do to make my children, my sons, leave home. They will flee home immediately if I had an avatar. Yes, indeed, that is very complicated, but we could have a digital twin simulating specific organs or parts of our body. Or take as an example, vaccines. Well, vaccines, the mRNA vaccines recently produced were firstly simulated with a computer. I mean, the Moderna vaccine was ready in January 2020 because they knew how the virus was made. They had isolated the part of genome of the virus which was able to the virus to bond with the protein S. So on the basis of this model, they were able to plan their vaccine on the computer. So then many months were required to produce the vaccine and then test it first on animals and then on men. But this is another example of the potential of calculation. We were able to obtain vaccines in very short time, and we were able to overcome the pandemic, hopefully quite shortly, quite a short time. And this is a big success for our society. It's the first time that the human society is able to achieve such an ambitious objective. And why we could do it? Thanks to the technology, data technology, calculation technology, medical technology. Without all this, we would be fighting pandemics as we had to do with the Spanish influenza. And another question about the digital twin, the advancement of research and European preparation. I would like to know whether there is an equality between Europe and the rest of the world. In which position do we find ourselves? Well, we are lagging a little bit behind. There is a little bit of a gap to fill in, but the European Commission has made quite a far-sighted investment on calculations on data. Therefore, we are recovering this. We are catching up, and Italy is at the forefront because Technopole will enable us to take a step forward towards as a country and as Europe. I believe that we should also invest also in the youth. As a scientist, as a research institution, I witness great difficulties in having a sufficient number of educated young people. For example, if I have to find an IT engineer, well, an excellent IT engineer, this will be very hard to find. The same for other professional figures because the skillful ones can find a job while they are studying. So I believe that an investment needs to be made in the academic field, in education, and I hope that the recovery plan will be able to make a difference. And I hope they will help us to improve the skills of the young people. And as you underlined earlier, all people working in these projects are very young people, and we need them because they are those having the right skills. And this is an important message. This is the message. We need you. We need these skills, and the youth should take part because we desperately need them. So now I can give the floor to Salomoni for the conclusion.
The region Emilia-Romagna is working on this, and there is really a race to try and recruit the best talents. We work with the Sole 24 Ore, and we know about how this is important. Let me now call the Councillor Salomoni to understand more how the region Emilia-Romagna is capable now of becoming capable of recruiting more or helping in the recruitment of talents. This is a narration of a future which is actually a present. So there is a project now which is complex, but now it is really being implemented into reality to show businesses and clients how these processes are becoming real. And I believe that what was raised earlier about training is absolutely of the utmost importance. We need this in the present, and the young are the resources, the young graduates, they are the resource for the future. And so the effort is now absolutely necessary. We have to really push forward in this direction, and in the recovery and resiliency plan, this dimension is present, and we have to make an effort, a further effort, provide momentum for the future with the technological and scientific competencies, skills, and some only local initiatives have been seen so far. At the national level, there's been a much lack of attention, and I think that needs to be sped up to develop the next generation of researchers, academics, and business owners. So we have to provide an extra effort and really train the younger generations that have to be brought closer to these disciplines. Otherwise, the IT engineers have to be trained from the very, very young age at school level to start. And a topic we have not touched is there is also a gender issue, not just twins, not just engineers, but women engineers. So we are working on these developments for the future. We are going to use the European funds, but all these themes and topics have to be really related to the territory. And We have to take ownership of this. Thank you, Councillor Salamoni. Thank you, Mr. Francesca Millo. Thank you, Mr. Antonio Zoccoli. And at 4 p.m., we're going to have the other meeting, which is on the space economy. Thank you very much. Let's reconvene later.